First of all, hello everybody. My name is Jay. I'm one of the expert OET teachers here at E2Language.com. Just keep in mind that this live class is called a free sample class, and it is directed towards free users who are sort of wondering whether they will upgrade their account to a paid account, and maybe they're sort of curious. Maybe you're curious about what the live classes are like. So that's the purpose of this class. If you're a paid member, you may have actually seen this before because we run the same one again and again every few weeks, like once a month. But no doubt it'll still be helpful. But yeah, the purpose is for those of you who are thinking about upgrading your accounts to sort of go, okay, I like this format. This works for me. I can learn with online live classes. Cool. So what we're going to do more specifically is we're going to look at OET reading. We're going to firstly talk about what's coming up this week. Then we're going to do just a little look at the different subtests for reading. And then we'll talk about some study tips and whatnot. So yeah. So first of all, you would have noticed now in your E2 language calendar that there are lots of events. Right? There's all these little blue events and yellow events. And the blue events are for paid members and the yellow events are for free members, or there's the workshop, which is for both. And these are live classes. So you'll click and you'll register for, and then you'll get a link, and then you'll join the live class, and there'll be a teacher, and there'll be maybe 50, 90 people in the live class, all sort of preparing together. And it's a very, it's a good way to prepare. It's motivating. It's enjoyable. You're not by yourself. The teacher is unpacking some of those complex aspects of the subtest, so you don't have to sort of trudge through it by yourself. It's sort of the trudging is done by the teacher, which is terrific. So in November, we're going to have 2 to 3 live classes per day, 5 days a week. Okay, so think about that. There's lots of live classes happening, which will be good for your preparation. Okay, let's get stuck into it. Let's talk about reading part A. Reading part A is a bit of an unusual reading test. It's not your average sort of multiple choice type of reading test. It is quite peculiar to OET. It was designed, to simulate the type of reading that you actually do in a hospital or in a clinical setting. It's about rapid reading, speed reading, skim reading, scan reading. This particular subtest will test your ability to read in a particular way. And it's not a deep reading, a careful reading type of test. This very much is like identifying or finding information. Okay, so you can think about reading in 2 ways, really. Imagine you're reading a book, right? And you're going through the page of the book. Really, you're understanding deeply the narrative and the characters and the themes and what's happening. Okay, so that's deep, careful reading. Or maybe you're reading a newspaper article like that. Deep, careful reading. There's another type of reading where you're just looking for something, where it's sort of saying, you know, okay, what color hat was John wearing? Okay, so imagine you got your book and you're going, okay, what color hat, what color hat, what color? Okay, he was wearing a pink hat. So it's a different type of reading. You're not finding out about narrative and characters or anything like that. It's very much like looking for, okay? So this is what the task is. You have to sort of imagine here. It's going to be, if you're taking the paper-based test, you'll receive two bits of paper. First bit of paper is going to contain texts, okay? 4 texts. I hate saying that word, text. It's very hard to say. 4 texts, text A, B, C, and D. Now, these 4 short texts, I think it'll be double-sided or 2 or 3 pages, will be about a general topic. Let's say the general topic is headaches or diabetes or, I don't know, other medical topics, sort of general medical topic. It's not going to be too abstract or arcane. So text A, for example, about headaches might be about symptoms. Text B about headaches might be about, it looks like some sort of visual image, and it might be about, it might be a flow chart, okay? Text C will be like a more dense paragraph of text talking about a particular patient's experience with migraines or something. And text D will be dot points. So they're quite different types of of texts. Okay, they're not just paragraphs. They're different. One of them will always be a visual image. One of them will be a graph or a flow chart or something like that. Okay, so you got your text there. Then you've got your question booklet. Okay, so you've got a separate question booklet. And there are 3 types of questions. The first type of question is called matching. Okay, let me just, okay, we'll look at this more closely and we'll actually do a bit of an exercise on this. So the first type of question is called matching. And it's going to just simply ask you, in which text, A, B, C, or D, in which of these texts can you find information about dosages of medication? And then you're going to go, oh, okay, that was text C or whatever it was. That was talking about dosages. So it's very much looking at a broad level, which text. You're not even really looking into the text for details. You're just sort of going, that was about dosages. That was about whatever, symptoms, for example. Then you get short answer and sentence completion questions. I think you get about 7 or 8 matching. Anyway, there's 20 questions that you need to answer in 15 minutes. And this is why it really is about rapid or speed reading. 20 questions in 15 minutes. So you got less than a minute to answer each question. Let's say 45 seconds to answer each question. Okay, so it really is. And the short answer asks you, and the sentence completion gets more specific. It says, where should this happen? Or how much, or what is, and this is where you're actually going in and looking more carefully. So what's the method here? Because before test day, you want to have a real approach down, a strategy. Okay, you don't want to rock up on test day and think, oh, what do I have to do? Oh, I have to, oh, and the clock's ticking down, because in 15 minutes you really need to go in and go, all right, bang, I know, boom, boom, boom. This is how I approach this part of the test. So here's the method that we recommend. You should spend the first minute. It feels like you're wasting a minute, but you're not. You should spend the first minute familiarizing yourself with each of those texts. Okay, don't go straight to the questions, because it's going to be too abstract for your mind. Okay, it's going to be really difficult. What you should do is spend 15 seconds looking at text A, 15 seconds looking at text B, 15 text C, 15 seconds looking at text D. Okay, and after that minute, you're going to feel much better, because you're going to know what each of those texts is about. So the general topic will be headaches. But what's text A particularly about? What's text B specifically about? Okay, and after you've had a good look and you've looked at titles, keywords, etc., and then you've moved to text B, you've done titles, subheadings, keywords, and you're like, okay, cool, I know what these 4 texts are now about. Then you can move to the matching questions, because they're the broad questions that says, in which of those texts, A, B, C, or D, can you find information about this? And because you've just spent a minute looking at it, you'll be in a much better position to go, all right, B, D, A, C, whatever it is, okay? And by doing the matching questions first, which you should do anyway because it's question 1, it further helps you to then know more about that text and get into the details and the specifics. Because then you'll move into the short answer questions. And there's a little method here too. It goes a little bit deeper than just saying which text is that information in. You firstly need to do that. The first step to answer a short answer or sentence completion is to firstly identify the text. So it says something like, if we're talking about headaches, I'm just trying to think of a question off the top of my head. What type of, or what sensation can be felt behind the eyes in a migraine? Okay, and remember there was a text about symptoms. So we're going to look at symptoms. We know we're looking in text A, it's symptoms. Okay, but we don't know the type, we don't know the answer to that yet. What type of sensation can be felt behind the eyes? Let's say the answer is pulsating or something. So that's the particular word we eventually want to find. Then we locate the area of the text there in text A, because we see something about eyes. We use that keyword and there's eyes. And then we read even more carefully and it says pulsating sensation or pulsating feeling. They won't use the same language. They'll use synonyms. And then we've got our word, pulsating, okay? So that's how we approach that one. And it's the same thing for, whoopsie. It's the same thing for the sentence completion as well. Identify the text, look more closely, find the particular word or short phrase. Now, this is really important here. So on your answer sheet for matching, you'll be writing A, B, C, D. That's it. Question 1 might be D. Question 2, the answer is C. Question 3, the answer might be C again, okay? Now for the short answer and sentence completion, the answer that you'll be writing will be a word or short phrase taken directly from the text, unaltered. You do not change it. So if in text A the answer was pulsating and you wrote pulsate, it would be considered incorrect. Or if you wrote pulsated, it would be incorrect. Okay, you need to write pulsating. So it's a good thing. It makes it simple. There's no transformation at all. You're taking the word straight from the text, writing it as your answer. Okay? And you'll find that in the sentence completion one, if you do that, it will make the sentence grammatical. Okay, so just keep that in mind. No transformation necessary for short answer and sentence completion. Take the word directly, pop it in as the answer. Enough waffling about it. Actually, before, maybe a little bit more waffling, does anyone have any questions about reading part A before we do a little practice? Any questions about reading part A? Okay, this is a great question or an observation from Anu. Anu says, Jay, sometimes I can't understand the text, but my answers were right. That's fine, because again, this is not a careful deep reading exercise. You might come away from this not having understood text A really at all, or know it's about symptoms, and you're really just looking for keywords. This is really a keyword search. And the same, I'll tell you that the interesting thing about this activity is you're using the same part of your cognition that you would use when you're looking for your phone. Let's say your phone is in your bedroom and you've got to go, right? You've got to go because your husband or wife is saying, come on, we've got to go. And you think, oh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And you're looking under things. Is it under there? No. Is it under there? No. And the whole time what you're doing is you're keeping that image of that phone in your mind. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Ruffling, and then boom, you find the phone. That's an analogy for what you have to do in this particular activity. It very much is a finding, very much like you would find an object in the world. Okay, let's do it. Let me disappear. So first things first, I want you to speed read. Have a look at this. This is the title. This is what the overall texts are about. Iron deficiencies. So speed read text A, please. Looking at the titles, looking at keywords, get an idea broadly about what that text is about. Okay, next one, same thing. Okay, hopefully you've got an idea about the differences between those two texts now. Now we're going to move into the matching questions. In which text can you find information about these? Now your answer is going to be A or B, okay? Okay. Okay, cool. Did you get both of those? Hopefully you got both. Okay, now we're going to do short answer questions. So now there'll be two steps involved. There will be the firstly identifying which text, okay? Then there'll be the deeper, more careful reading of that text to try to find the answer. Okay, I'll give you a little bit more time there. I'll just give you another 20 seconds or so. Okay, let's do these ones now. This is the gap fill or the sentence completion. It's the same process. It's exactly the same process, but this time you'll be completing a sentence. So first step, identify the text. Second step, identify the specific word or phrase to fill that text. Give you a little bit more time there. All right, let's go through this. So, in which text can you find information about how you might diagnose iron deficiency? Well, it's littered through text A. So the answer to number one is A. Okay, and on test A, on your answer sheet, you would write A next to number one. Okay, it's definitely not text B. Text B is not about diagnosing iron deficiency. Okay, now just obviously what we're doing here is a simplified version because we're only looking at two texts. So on test A, you're going to have to be dealing with 4 texts. So it's going to be, well, twice as challenging perhaps. Now, number 2 is dead simple. Okay, it's common causes of iron deficiency in children. It actually says it in the title there. Also has a number of synonyms for children like infants. Anything else? Well, it's got other things related to children like breastfeeding, pediatric. There's all these sorts of words, vocabulary in there referring to that. So number 2 is B. Simple, right? The matching questions are actually quite simple. Now, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So what type of protocols should be adhered to when increasing children's iron? So first step, we know that we're looking in text B. We won't even bother looking in text A. We know that the answer to this will be found in text B. And we can see specifically down here, we can see protocols on iron supplementation should be followed. Okay, what protocols should be adhered to or followed when increasing children's iron? The answer there is pediatric specific. You could write pediatric specific protocols. That would also be considered correct. But the answer here is pediatric specific. Now, because we're taking this word or phrase directly from the text, we want to include the hyphen. We just want to copy it exactly. If you spell it wrong, if you spelled pediatric without the A, for example, it would be considered incorrect. Maybe not, but just let that, just copy it, okay? Just copy it. I'm just gonna go to the chat here. Safina says, Jay, can we underline text on test A using our pen? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep, you can draw all over the booklets. Okay, cool. All right, no real questions there. Number 4. What is considered inadequate compared to breast milk or infant formula? So are we going to look in text A for this answer? No, we're going to remain in text B because breast milk and infant both relate to children there. So what is inadequate compared to breast milk? So if I were you, I think that word milk is incredibly a really great keyword to search for. So I'd be looking there, and I can see in that paragraph, it's obviously in that first paragraph, it's mentioning milk, 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 right? It says that cow's milk is low in iron compared with breast milk and infant formula and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the answer there is cow's milk. A capital letter is probably not essential there, but again, you want to copy it exactly as it is from the text. So can you just tell me so far, out of the 4 questions, what your score is so far? What do you want so far? 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4 out of 4. Good, nice work. Cool, looking good, looking good. All right, let's do these ones here. Look at the answers. Pediatricians typically provide up to what of elemental iron orally per day? Now, I bet you a lot of you got this wrong because you included the 3 to 6 milligrams per kilo. So you've actually located the text correctly. You've located the particular detail correctly. However, you haven't read the question carefully enough. Pediatricians, so we know we're in text B, typically provide up to. If it says up to, do I need to include 3? Up to 3 to 6 milligrams a kilo? No, I just need to go to the highest volume here. Up to 6 milligrams / kg. That is the answer. Can you just tell me, did you get that right or wrong? Just type in right or wrong. Wrong, wrong, right, wrong, right, right, wrong, right, wrong. Okay, let this be a lesson to you. One of the ways that OET will get you, trick you, or one of the ways that you will get an incorrect answer here is if you do something silly like that. Once you find that particular word or short phrase and you put it into that gap, read the sentence again. And if it doesn't make sense, like if it says, pediatricians typically provide up to 3 to 6 milligrams a kilo, it just doesn't feel quite right. Just be sure that, oh, maybe I don't need that little part. Maybe the answer is just this little part here. Okay? Yeah, it needs to make sense grammatically, and it needs to make sense semantically in terms of meaning as well. Okay, so gotcha, gotcha, ha. Let's try another one. This one might have gotcha as well. Referring a patient with low iron to a something is frequently needed. Okay, so some of you may have chosen specialist pediatrician from down here, but let's read this again. Referring a patient with low iron to a something is frequently needed. Down here it says, if oral iron is ineffective or not tolerated, then consider other causes of anemia, referral to a specialist pediatrician, and use of IV iron. Okay, that's got nothing to do with frequency. Okay, and low iron, right? Over here, like this could fit. This word is perfect. It'll fit their gap really nicely. You refer to a specialist pediatrician, but it's just wrong. Here it says identifying the cause of iron deficiency is crucial. Referral to a gastroenterologist is often required, is frequently needed. You can see that often required and frequently needed are paraphrases, synonyms. They say the same thing. Therefore, the answer there is gastroenterologist. Just tell me in the chat what you got out of 6, please. What's your score out of 6? Good work, Sarin Kumar. 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 6, 5, 4, 5, 5. Good. Nice. If you got 1 wrong, that's fine. If you got 2 wrong, if you got 3 wrong, you're going to have to come to our live classes, I reckon. Or if you just want to build your confidence and really make sure you don't screw up the exam, because it's expensive. And yeah, you want to get it right the first time. Okay, Minu's got a question about this. It's a great question. Let's imagine the question says this: what percentage of people are affected by headaches? Is the answer just 10, or like say, or do I write 10%? Again, you'll be taking it directly from the text. Now, they will consider variations in answers. So if you write 10, they might consider that as correct. Or if you write 10%, that would be considered correct as well. They might even consider it correct if you write per dash cent. These are actually marked by people. Just the best way to deal with this is to take it directly from the text. But yeah, good question. The answer is take it directly from the text. How many right answers, correct answers, do we need to get to pass this? It depends. I'm quite sure the way that they mark this, they have relative marking, not absolute marking. What that means is you're actually marked against your peers, or all the people who take OET on that particular day. They find a little bell curve, right? So most people, or the median number is 65% or whatever. Some people get perfect scores, some people get terrible scores. And they actually mark you, I'm quite sure they mark you like that. So it's not about actually how many you get from this test. It's more like how many you got and how many did everybody else get. Then they calculate your score. Hiba asks, Jay, in the first minute when we're just skim reading or scanning the texts, what do we look for? So you'd be looking for titles, subtitles, or headings, subheadings, and keywords. Headings, subheadings, and keywords. Like this one here. Let's have a look at this one here. So I'd be going infants, children, cow's milk, risk factors, adult doses, pediatricians. You know, I'd be just loading my head with those keywords for text B. It's definitely about children, but it's also about milk. It's about pediatricians, etc. So then I've got a pretty good idea to know how to come back to that one. All right, let's talk about this for a second, which is our fabulous mini mock test with feedback. If you are preparing for the OET test and you haven't taken the test before, then what I recommend you do is take our mini mock test with feedback. Why? Because it's going to give you a simulation. it looks and it feels and it sounds. It doesn't smell the same, but it's going to give you a really good idea of what it's like on test day. Okay, it's slightly shortened, so you're not sitting there for 3 hours. I think it'll take about 2 hours and 15 minutes. What happens is you'll log in, you'll do the listening, listening part A, listening part B, listening part C. Then you do reading part A, B, C. Then you do writing. Okay, so you do those 3 in one sitting, and you need to sit there for the whole time. You can't leave or turn it off or anything like that. The reason is because it's a mock test, we need you to also simulate what it's like in terms of managing your attention span or managing your concentration for a long period of time. What you'll find on test day is you're going to get exhausted. And as you get exhausted and your blood sugar depletes and whatever, you'll find that it becomes harder to concentrate. So you need to practice that element of psychology as well. Anyway, you're going to get feedback on your writing. You can also book as part of it, you book a speaking mock test, one-on-one with our teacher, who will actually do like a face-to-face speaking mock test and provide you feedback. Get lots of rich data and feedback on reading ABC, listening ABC, writing and speaking. It's pretty good. So you can purchase the Express Plus package, and it comes with all the material, methods, lessons, overview lessons, 6 full practice tests, 25 live classes, and the mock test. It's a good idea. Or you can just purchase the mock test by itself, but you're better off buying it as a package because you get other stuff. Anyway, cool. I guess the other thing is, if you've taken OET before and you were unsuccessful, but you don't really know why, like you know that you failed writing, for example, or reading, but you don't know what you did wrong, then this is going to give you the feedback you need. Okay, reading part B. After reading part A, they will take your papers away. Then you're given reading part B and C together in 45 minutes. Let's talk about reading part B. It looks like this. You're going to get 6 of these types of questions. Multiple choice question, 3 answer options, and a text below it. Okay? So, pretty straightforward, right? Multiple choice. At least you know what to do straight from the start. But again, we want an approach here. So here's the approach. What we're going to do is read the question stem or the question prompt here. Negative effects from prescription drugs are often what? We're going to skip the answer options. Okay, because the answer, if we read the answer options now and then go to the text, it's too confusing and you won't be able to read the text clearly. Now we're moving from speed reading and finding keywords to actual deep reading, where you need to comprehend or understand the text. Okay, and you do have time now to do this. You have time, enough time to read this carefully and understand it. So you move from the question prompt to the text itself. And you keep the question prompt in mind because you're going to be reading, you're going to be trying to find out something about negative effects from prescription drugs. But really what you're doing here is you're trying to understand that paragraph of text. Read it carefully, understand it, and then you'll be going to the answer options. You'll be eliminating incorrect answer options. That's not right. Yeah, it's not quite right. It contradicts it all. That didn't say that. Well, that wasn't even mentioned, right? 3 things: contradicts, or 2 things really. Didn't say that, contradicts, or wasn't mentioned. Okay, so there's going to be 2 that'll be wrong. It'll either be it'll be wrong because it contradicts the information, or it'll be wrong because it just wasn't mentioned. One of them will say the same thing, but just in different words. Well, let's do this. Okay. How did you go there? Let's take a closer look at it. Okay, so what we're going to do is go through each one by one. Okay. So negative effects from prescription drugs. Well, let's go back a step. Let's read the whole thing. Okay, I don't want to, let's read it together. It feels like I'm a teacher in primary school, but let's do this. So reasons for drug-related problems, manual for geriatric specialists. Okay, adverse drug effects can occur in any patient, but certain characteristics of the elderly make them more susceptible. For example, the elderly often take many drugs, polypharmacy, and have age-related changes in pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics both increase the risk of adverse effects. At any age, adverse drug effects may occur when drugs are prescribed and taken appropriately. New onset allergic reactions are not predictable or preventable. However, adverse effects are thought to be preventable in almost 90% of cases in the elderly, compared with only 24% in younger patients. Certain drug classes are commonly involved: antipsychotics, antidepressants, and sedative hypnotics. In the elderly, there are a number of common reasons for adverse drug effects or drug ineffectiveness, and both are preventable. Many of these reasons involve inadequate communication with patients or between healthcare practitioners, particularly during healthcare transitions. Okay, so we've read that. We haven't memorized it. Don't expect to memorize that. That's not going to happen. But we've picked up some information in our brain. Okay, it may or may not be conscious or not, but it's going to help us enormously now when we start to do this. So negative effects from prescription drugs are often avoidable in young people. It says here, adverse effects are thought to be preventable in almost 90% of cases in the elderly, compared with 24% in younger patients. So negative effects are often avoidable in young people. Just tell me, does this say the same thing? Just spend a little bit of time going through this. Does this say the same thing? If it's contradictory in any way, I want you to say no. If it says the same thing, say yes. Terrific, well done. Great, everybody's getting it. Good stuff. Yeah, so it says avoidable in young people. It says adverse effects are thought to be preventable in almost 90% of cases in the elderly. Okay, so that's often avoidable with old people, compared with only 24% in younger patients. So it's not often avoidable in young people. It's only 24%. That's not often, right? So I'm not happy with that one. It doesn't quite work. Let's try this one. Negative effects from prescription drugs are often unpredictable in the elderly. Okay, tell me if this says the same thing or not. Common reasons and unpredictability, are they the same thing? Okay. Let's have a little look. Good. Nice. Agree. No, not happy with that. So let's try this one. Okay, I'm sorry, I've changed it here. Anyway, negative effects from prescription drugs are often caused by a lack of communication. Here it says, many of these reasons involve inadequate communication with patients. Many of these reasons, that is adverse drug effects, okay? Adverse drug effects involve inadequate communication with patients. So here it says negative effects or adverse effects are often caused by lack of communication. I'm sorry, I don't know if you noticed, but I changed that slightly there. But Right. Yes. They're saying the same thing, right? Now, it's not, the interesting thing about this question is it's not asking you for a global understanding of this, okay? It's not asking you for to understand the gist or the entire section there. It's just asking you to understand a specific part there. So it's a bit tricky, isn't it? A bit tricky. Sometimes you'll read, there's a few different sort of question functions. One is that they'll ask you what is the overall meaning of this text, in which case you're not looking for a specific detail. You're looking at the overall meaning of the text. And then you'll be going, doesn't say that, doesn't say that. Yes, it basically says that in gist, okay? Sometimes it'll ask you to read for a specific detail, like we've done here. We've really read for a specific detail, or and the question prompt might even ask you to look for a specific detail, okay? So keep that in mind. They're the two broad questions there. Okay, let's now look at reading. So just on test A, you're going to get 6 reading part B questions, and you should be spending less than 2 minutes per question. Okay, let's now look at reading part C. So reading part C, what's going to happen is you're going to receive a text that'll be long. It's going to have about 7 or 8 paragraphs, okay? And you're going to receive questions, multiple choice questions, 8 questions based on those paragraphs, okay? So there's one set. And you'll receive another set on a different topic of the same thing, 7 or 8 paragraphs, 8 questions. So 16 questions in total. 16 questions in total, but really sort of two parts of this reading part C. It's multiple choice, and you'll get 4 answer options to choose from. So let's go through. The method is very similar to reading part B. We're going to employ a very similar approach. Okay, so what we're going to do is, that's not the right answer, by the way. It's just, again, we're going to go through them in a second. But what I want you to do is, I'll give you two minutes to do this one. I want you to read the question prompt. So in this paragraph, what point does the writer make about the treatment of depression? So we're going to be reading for a detail. You're going to then read this very carefully, keeping in mind the treatment of depression. Then we're going to go through it. We're going to go through each of those answer options until we're happy that we've found one that says the same thing as the text. Okay, I'm going to give you another, I'm going to give you more time. In fact, what I'm going to do is, I don't want you to rush. So let's go back. I'm going to restart the timer and give you another 1.5 minutes to do this. I really want you to be confident or sure that you have the correct answer. All right, let's go through. I need to rush a little bit because I've got something on in 10 minutes. So, what point does the writer make about the treatment of depression? Well, here it says only 35% of people with a mental health problem had a mental health consultation in the last 12 months. 3/4 of those people who had a mental health consultation saw a GP. This says 75% of depression sufferers visit their GP for treatment. Does it say the same thing? Yes or no? Good. Good. Nice. The answer is no. The answer is no. If you're still struggling with this, if you're still thinking that that was the correct answer, this is the practice test that is for free on the platform. So you can take a long, hard look at it on the platform. It's practice test number 1. I think it's free for everybody. But if you do upgrade your account, you get 6 full practice tests. That means you get 12 reading part Cs, very high quality reading part Cs to practice with. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Let's read this. 3/4 of those people with mental health problems seeking help saw a GP. Okay. In the follow-up survey, not much had changed. Again, there was evidence of substantial unmet need of those people seeking help. This says GPs struggle to meet the needs of patients with depression. Does this say the same thing? Yes or no? Okay, I got about okay. Oh, okay, let's go this one. Okay. 3/4 of those people seeking help, so patients, 3/4 of the patients, we're talking about patients here, of those seeking, doctors aren't seeking help. 3/4 of those seeking help, there was the people with the mental health problems, saw a GP. Okay. In the follow-up survey, not much had changed. Again, there was evidence of substantial unmet need of the people with the mental health problems, not the GPs. This isn't about GPs. So the answer is no. That's just not right. But you can see how these questions are created to sort of not trick you. It's a misreading. It's a misreading. If you misread, you'll get it wrong. Let's try this one. Those affected by a mood disorder reported a mean or an average of 11.7 disability days or days off when they were completely unable to carry out or had to cut down on their usual activities in the previous 4 weeks. This says treatment for depression takes an average of 11.7 days a month. Do these two say the same thing? Good, nice. So therefore, we're left with this one. This says, amazingly, only 35% of people with a mental health problem had a mental health consultation during the previous 12 months. This says, most people with depression symptoms never receive help. These two say the same thing? You would hope so. Somebody said sort of. I guess you're right there, Safina. It is sort of. I'm quite happy with it. I'm definitely not happy with these 3, and I'm quite happy with this one, and that's probably as good as it gets. Okay? It's never going to use the same words to say the same thing because that would just defeat the purpose of the test. But yeah. Cool. Now, you're already E2 language members. If you do want to improve your reading skills, or not so much reading skills, your test practice skills, check out feel free to upgrade to a package to access the live classes, the additional material, the methods lessons. You can think about, even if it's really important for you, you can take one-on-one tutorials with our teachers to do practice with different material where they'll put you under pressure, point out the different aspects, etc. Cool. I've just got time for a few quick questions. Hiba, how do I use the tutorial for writing? It's a good idea. A good question, rather. So what you do, Hiba, is if you've got a tutorial, you will also have a speaking feedback, either through the mock test or through an assessment. So what you'll do is you'll firstly submit a piece of writing for feedback. Then when you take the one-on-one tutorial, the teacher will actually be looking at your writing with you, going through all the different aspects of your writing according to the criteria, talking to you about the purpose statement, the purpose paragraph, your overall structure, your paragraph structure, relevance of case notes, interpretation of case notes, all of that sort of stuff. So it's a very thorough session with the tutor. Maki, what's the difference between a tutorial and feedback? Well, the feedback is just, you don't meet with the teacher face to face. The teacher would just be marking your writing, giving you a report card, whereas the tutorial is actually done on Zoom, one-on-one, in a discussion. Frempong, why was 35% classified as most? It was 35% got treatment, the others didn't. So what's 65% didn't, so that would be most. My exam is on the 7th. Can I make it a mock test for today? No, Lily, please book as soon as possible because the slots are booking out fast. I think the nearest you'll get might be Wednesday, but please book today. Nathan, how do I upgrade my account? There should be a big button that says upgrade account in the top of your screen in your dashboard. Loana, in sentence completion, do we change the words? No, you take the words directly from the text. Minu, thank you so much. Wonderful class. Thank you, Minu. Karen, hi. If I have subscribed to the Express Plus bundle, how long can I use it? Is there an expiration? I think it's 6 months, which is good. Cool. Alrighty. I think that's all. I'm going to run because I'm going to try and sneak in a cup of tea before my next meeting. But thank you for coming along. Appreciate it. Hopefully that was helpful and hopefully it gave you a good idea about how our live classes operate. Remember, they're happening. Someone said I've lost weight. I've actually put on 1 kilo. So don't worry, I'm keeping track of that. Anyway, see you soon.